You're looking to achieve more, right? To really make progress on what matters, and you want to do it effectively.
hmm
That's exactly what we're digging into today, the science and strategy of setting goals that actually work.
Yeah, we've kind of sifted through a bunch of recent research statistics.
Right, to pull out the core insights, maybe some surprising truths, and importantly, how you, our listener, can avoid the usual traps.
Think of it as a shortcut, pretty much, a fast track to understanding how to really make goal setting work for you.
Exactly, because this isn't just wishful thinking.
No, not at all. The data is, well, it's really clear that well-defined goals have a big impact. Performance, achievement, it's all linked.
So we're going to explore why that is for you.
Look at where people often go wrong, the common mistakes,
What happens when you make those mistakes?
right? The consequences. And then, most importantly, walk you through the strategies that actually work, the how-to.
Okay, let's start with the basics then. The power of just having goals. The weight of evidence is pretty impressive.
It really is. Over 90% of studies,
Yeah.
they confirm the positive influence.
Yeah.
That's a strong consensus.
Are hard to argue with 90%. And it's not just a vague things get better feeling.
No, there was this interesting German study. It showed clear goals make it much more likely for you to experience flow at work.
Ah, that state of being totally absorbed, energized.
Exactly. And we know flow drives higher performance. It's a direct link.
And businesses have known this for ages, haven't they? Management by objectives, MBO.
Right, that framework, setting specific goals across the whole organization.
That massive review of, 70 studies? Found productivity gains in 68 of them.
Yeah, 68 out of 70. That kind of consistency, it really tells you something.
It does, and now we see frameworks like OKRs gaining traction.
Objectives and key results.
Yep.
Ambitious goals, measurable outcomes. The data on their impact is pretty compelling, too.
Like what?
Well, one German study found employees using team OKRs are way more likely, like 72%, to understand the company vision.
Compared to only about half in companies without them.
Exactly. That's a big jump in understanding the overall direction.
Which makes sense, right? If you know where you're going, your actions are more likely to, get you there.
Precisely. And OKRs seem to foster that clarity. 98% of companies using them report better clarity on goals and performance.
Wow, 98%. That's almost universal.
It is. And it goes beyond just understanding. 90% report better communication, better strategy implementation.
So it helps translate the big picture into action.
Yeah, and gets people on the same page.
Yeah.
Like 60% of employees with OKRs really get the company strategy versus only 37% without.
That's a huge gap in understanding the why.
It is. So clear goals aren't just theory. They tangibly affect how things run, how well people grasp their role.
And that applies to individuals too, right? Not just big companies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For you personally, specific goals sharpen focus, help you allocate resources, time, energy, money.
Like focusing sunlight with a magnifying glass.
Perfect analogy.
Oh, yeah.
And for entrepreneurs listening, clear business goals are strongly linked to long-term success. That focus pays off.
Okay, let's shift to the people side. Motivation, innovation. The stats here are kind of wild.
They really are. Employees with goals, over 14 times more likely to feel inspired.
14 times. That's a massive difference in engagement.
Huge. And it's not just fleeting inspiration. They're also 3.6 times more likely to stay committed,
Wow.
and almost 7 times more likely to feel proud of their organization.
That emotional connection, that's gold for any company. And for the individual too, surely.
Definitely. And it translates to action. People with clear goals are over 8 times more likely to actively look for ways to improve their work.
That proactive mindset, that's what drives progress.
Exactly. And OKRs seem to help here too. Higher job satisfaction reported 78% with OKRs versus 65% without.
A noticeable bump. So goals matter, clarity matters. But what about the type of goal?
Yes. The challenging goals. This is really interesting.
Go on.
Setting goals that stretch you but are still, reachable, that can lead to up to 90% better performance.
90% better, just by setting tougher goals.
Well, challenging but attainable. That's the key distinction. They push you, foster growth, give a real sense of accomplishment.
You see executives doing this more often, right? Stepping outside the comfort zone.
Yeah, the data suggests high-level execs are more inclined toward those ambitious objectives.
And surprisingly, maybe it links back to job satisfaction.
It does. One study found people setting difficult, even audacious goals reported significantly higher job satisfaction.
You'd think harder goals equal more stress, but maybe the achievement outweighs it.
It seems so. That sense of overcoming a real challenge is deeply rewarding. But there's a catch.
Oh,
A lot of employees, maybe around 31%, report their managers don't actually set challenging goals for them.
really? So managers are holding back.
It seems that way sometimes. A missed opportunity for growth, for motivation, for a lot of people.
Okay, so goal setting is powerful. We get the why, but where does it go wrong? Let's talk pitfalls.
Right, because the stats on the mistakes are just as revealing.
What's the biggest one?
It's like a fundamental lack of understanding the big picture. Only about 16% of employees really grasped the company's main goals.
16%. That's tiny.
And it gets worse. Half of top managers apparently can't even name their organization's top 3 goals.
Wow. Okay. That's a huge disconnect, right? From top to bottom.
Massive. It's like everyone's rowing, but maybe in slightly different directions.
And even if departments have goals, coordinating them, that's tough.
Very tough, according to HBR research. Lack of alignment between departments creates friction, inefficiency.
Yeah.
It affects everyone.
You could have great goals in your team, but if they don't line up with the company's,
You hit roadblocks,
yeah.
working across purposes, wasted effort.
And then there's just human nature, shying away from the tough stuff.
Yeah, that tendency. Fewer frontline employees set ambitious goals compared to executives. The average is like under half.
We stick to the comfort zone, which maybe explains why so few people consistently learn new skills at work. Only 35%.
Exactly. If your goals don't demand new skills, you probably won't develop them. You stay put.
And even frameworks like SMART goals aren't foolproof.
Apparently not always. One big study found many didn't feel a strong sense of urgency with their SMART goals.
So the structure alone isn't enough. The T's for time-bound didn't translate to action for everyone.
Seems that way. And with OKRs, while they can be amazing, look at Sears boosting sales per hour by 8.5% with consistent use.
That's impressive.
It's not automatic. Common issues are separating OKRs from daily work, alignment problems.
And getting leaders on board.
Crucial. Executive buy-in is absolutely essential. Without it, the framework just doesn't stick.
And they need constant attention, right? Not set and forget.
Definitely not. Over 60% of successful OKR users do bi-weekly check-ins. It needs regular review and adjustment.
Which links to another issue, adaptability, or lack thereof.
Yeah. Companies struggle to anticipate conflicts when pursuing goals or resolve them quickly when they pop up, and they resist changing course.
Sticking to the plan even when it's clearly not working.
It happens all the time. That lack of flexibility is a major barrier.
And just the basics get missed too often, like tracking progress.
Shockingly often. Only about half even try to align goals across the org, and only 6% regularly revisit them.
6%.
And maybe 80% don't track progress systematically.
If you don't track, how do you even know if you're winning or losing?
Exactly. And that leads straight into resource problems. Managers don't think priorities get the resources they need.
And they aren't confident they can shift people around when things change.
Right. It's all interconnected. These pitfalls have real consequences.
So let's talk about those consequences, the so what of bad goal setting.
Well, the most obvious one is you just don't achieve the goals.
Makes sense.
Only about 20% of companies actually complete, say, 80% of their strategic goals. That's a low success rate.
A lot of wasted effort and unmet potential.
Definitely. And that lack of clarity we talked about, it breeds distrust, conflict.
Which slows everything down.
Yeah, delays execution about 38% of the time, according to one study. And poorly articulated goals are blamed for over a third of project failures.
So fuzzy goals kill projects.
Pretty much. And avoiding the challenging goals, it might feel safer.
But it kills innovation.
Limits it, certainly. If the focus is just hitting easy targets, there's less incentive to try new, potentially risky things.
But you can go too far the other way, right? Overly ambitious goals.
Absolutely. That's a real danger. Burnout, frustration. One study showed only 10% hit really ambitious goals.
And failing hurts.
Yeah. Negative impact on emotions, motivation. People tended to choose easier tasks after failing an ambitious one.
And there's a darker side too, aggressive goals and unethical behavior.
Unfortunately, yes. Some research links overly aggressive targets to people cutting corners, or worse. It's a serious risk to consider.
So stretch goals, yes, but grounded in reality.
Precisely. And poor resource management. That sinks initiatives before they start. 9 out of 10 managers expect failure if resources aren't there.
9 out of 10.
And companies are slow to pull the plug on failing projects. 8 out of 10 managers report that difficulty.
Wasting time and money.
Exactly. And using frameworks like OKRs inconsistently just doesn't work as well. Sears saw way better results with consistent use versus patchy implementation.
So doing it halfway doesn't get you halfway there.
Not really. Commitment and consistency are key.
Okay, so we've covered the why and the what not to do. Let's get practical. How do you set and execute goals effectively?
Right, the how-to. And the data gives us some really clear pointers here.
Like what? What's the first step?
One of the simplest yet most powerful things you can do. Write them down.
Just physically writing them out?
Yes, you're apparently 42% more likely to achieve goals you write down.
Wow, that's easy enough. And visualization helps too.
Seems so. Visualizing success links to higher job satisfaction, more confidence.
Why does that work, do you think? Writing and visualizing.
Well, writing makes it concrete, tangible, solidifies commitment. Visualizing reinforces belief, primes your brain to spot opportunities.
Builds that confidence, which fuels action.
Exactly. And be precise. Define the goal clearly and give it a deadline.
Time-bound, like the SMART framework suggests.
Right. Time-bound goals plus weekly progress reporting. That boosted success significantly in one study.
And telling someone helps. Accountability.
Big time. Sharing goals apparently doubles your chances of success compared to keeping them private.
Okay, write it down, be specific, set a deadline, track weekly, tell someone. What else?
Review regularly. Don't just set and forget. Quarterly reviews show better returns than annual ones.
Keep it front of mind.
And get feedback. Regular feedback boosts commitment, keeps you on track.
Makes sense. And the goal itself has to matter to you, right?
Absolutely. It needs to be relevant, create genuine urgency. Procrastination is a huge issue for most people.
And it makes us unhappy, apparently.
Yeah, negatively impacts happiness for almost everyone who struggles with it. So the goal needs intrinsic motivation.
You need to understand the why behind your goal.
Critical. That classic typist study showed it understanding the purpose boosted performance significantly.
And involving people in setting their own goals or team goals.
Big benefits there. Leads to higher innovation, more ownership, better commitment. That hotel employee study was a great example.
So don't just dictate goals from on high.
Ideally, no. And be flexible. Things change.
Adaptability again.
Supervisors who adjust goals when needed see way more motivated employees. Goals aren't set in stone.
Which also means knowing when to stop, right? Cut your losses.
That difficult but necessary step. Many companies struggle hanging on to failing projects.
Like Angela Duckworth said, grit is also knowing when to pivot.
Exactly. Wisdom to know when to change direction. And don't be afraid to set goals that force you to learn.
Goals requiring skill development.
Yes, they're nearly 10 times more effective for growth and engagement. Keep pushing your boundaries.
Continuously learn. And finally, don't shy away from tools and frameworks.
Right, use them. OKRs get strong recommendations, 83% in one study. They help with alignment, communication, impact.
When used properly and consistently.
Exactly. The average recommendation score is high, like 8.5 out of 10. They clearly offer value.
Okay, so wrapping this up. Goal setting isn't a one-off task.
No, it's an ongoing dynamic process. The keys seem to be clear, challenging, regularly reviewed, and adaptable goals.
So for you listening, take a moment. Think about your own goals. Are they really aligned with your vision, your purpose?
Do they actually inspire you? Push your comfort zone?
Are you checking in on them? Adjusting them?
These are really important questions for you to ask yourself. If the answer is no or maybe, perhaps it's time to refine your approach.
Remember, it's a skill you can develop, and tools can help.
Definitely. Take these insights, look at your habits, and start setting goals that truly drive you forward.
Help you achieve what you're really capable of.
And with that, we bring this deep dive to a close for you.
Click like and subscribe to the Unlock Your Mind channel.